Hey everybody, and welcome to We Watch TV. It is the podcast about the TV that we watch. I am Daniel. This is a supercut. It's the last supercut of 2025. It's the last episode of 2025, and we have a very special one for you today. As you're all aware, over the summer, Hope and I both had our shows that we wanted to watch, and we engaged in what we liked to call the summer I turned Vulcan. That's right. Star Trek Strange New Worlds Season 3 and The Summer I Turned Pretty Season 3 both dropped around the same time in the summer. We watched them together, we talked about them together, and now, here to celebrate the very end of the year, we're going to supercut them together. So this supercut is all of our conversations about The Summer I Turned Pretty and Star Trek Strange New Worlds, both Season 3, so it just worked out really well. And we started our conversation, of course, with episode 112, The Summer I Turned Vulcan. I told you I found an Anakin.
What?
A crispy one. A crispy Anakin.
Oh, you mean Darth Vader?
Yeah.
I really thought you were telling me that you found an Anakin and didn't buy it. I was going to cancel this podcast and force choke. You turned her against me!
All right, everybody. So some television has been watched. Now, of course, if you listened to last week's episode, you know that I covered all the TV that we've been watching in detail and read your commentary verbatim. So I don't really know how much we've got to talk about here. But I guess we'll go ahead and get started. And you have watched another episode of this since that podcast. So I guess you've got some new stuff to talk about. The Summer I Turned Pretty, Season 3? Which is the final season.
Which is the final season.
And we've got 4 episodes?
Yes.
So far?
It's on Amazon Prime. And you read my notes, but I actually, when I wrote my notes, I was like, he's going to, instead of saying Jer, because you know that's what it is, I was like, Daniel's going to make a funny and be like, Jer. And it's like, do I know my husband or do I know my husband?
One, I did pronounce it Jer. 2, it wasn't a joke. Because 3, the letters J-E-R like that are pronounced
that it was
Jer.
You knew.
No, I didn't.
You knew.
No, I didn't.
You knew. I did like how you said this is the show I'm not allowed to talk during it because you aren't. Like you'll come up. Like one time he was trying to watch one. I think you're just up there to eat with me, and
heaven forbid.
You were like. You just started like talking during it, and like you were trying to commentate on the episode, and I was like, this is no talking zone. And I had to keep pausing it. I'm like, excuse me. Shh, shh, shh. This would be like basically the equivalent of how like One Tree Hill and the OC used to be for me when they would air. Only I was so much more well fed by like 20 plus episode seasons with those. But this is like that for me, like in like how early days of Grey's Anatomy used to be when it was really good. Like, do not talk to me while I watch this show. Your commentary is not appreciated. If you would like to speak about the episode after, you may do so.
Okay, I have a question before you proceed.
Gosh. Okay.
Does she turn prettier every summer? Because I know it's the third season now, but each one is taking place during the summer.
Okay, well,
so she turns pretty one summer. Does she keep getting prettier each consecutive summer?
I mean, I guess, but it's not the summer the Summer I Turn Pretty is in the name of the first book. And then it's like, we'll always have summer or something. I don't remember what the names of the other two. So the other 2 books are named something different, but they called the series The Summer I Turned Pretty. They weren't. We got season 1 all at once, and they kind of incorporated some elements of the other books into season 1 because they weren't sure that it was going to massively blow up and be such a hit. The books are super easy. I think I read the first book in like a day. This is one of the rare instances where I can say, and I think I've said this before, that I do like the show better than the book. I think Belly, yes, that is her name. Her name is Isabel, but they call her Belly for some reason. I don't know why they don't call her Izzy. I know she's quirky. She's not like other girls. I don't know. They call her Belly, and
Pork Belly.
Correct on that. Oh, don't call her that. But Belly in the show, and I've seen people complain about her, and yes, she did really tick me off in the last episode, which I'll get to in a minute. But she is more of like agency. She's more like she's a better character, I feel like, in the show than she is the books. And if you are just a show watcher, you might be like, oh my gosh, really? Yes. And I think a lot of that is because the actress, Lola Tunn, is such a good actress. And they've given Belly a little bit more depth. Like, all the characters, I think, have gotten a little bit more depth than what we got in the books. And it's just, it's one of those rare instances that like some of the stuff, because the books are pretty like juvenile, and like some of the plot points they've changed a little bit to make the show better, to make it more like a show. And Jenny Han, who wrote the books, also does the show, so that fits. So anyway, we got the first 2 episodes, which I believe you said. This is, I think it's finishing on, I think September 17th will be the last episode. So we got the first 2 episodes, and then it's the painful weekly release, and it is painful. I need to know why, in shows like this, where I am getting limited episodes, why are you giving me filler episodes? Why did I have to wait in the last episode, like over 20 minutes, for Conrad to be on my screen? That is stupid. I'm fine with filler episodes when it's 20 plus seasons. This is dumb. One of the things that they have done this season, and they have chosen to give some other characters, like we're Taylor's mom. One, Taylor is in the books, but her character is very different on the show, and I didn't like her in the book, so I do like her better in the show. But I really don't care about her and her mom losing her salon, and I don't care about Steven's new coworker. I don't care about these characters. They serve no purpose. I don't need them wasting screen time. So that's my biggest complaint so far about the season is, why are we doing this? I'm really here to see the Belly, Jeremiah, Conrad story. Well, really Belly, Conrad, because Jeremiah... I'm really here for that triangle.
I'm going to get that sound. That sound you just made right there is going to be on the soundboard.
I do like Steven and Taylor. I really came to like them as a couple last season, and that is one thing I don't know, because they were not, I mean, I think like they hooked up in the first book, but they were not a thing. They were not a romantic thing. I do believe that they will be in game, because I think a lot of fans like them, but they're probably going to make Steven date his dumb, stupid coworker Denise, and I'm just not interested in that. It's just a waste. So I am a book reader. Obviously, I know how the books end. I am fully confident the show is going to end the way the books ended. Spoiler alert. Again, we are a spoiler podcast. Turn away right now. Skip to the next chapter. The books end with Belly and Conrad together because it is their story. All right. So right now she is with Jeremiah.
So I'm not even
responding to that. I don't think that, like, they keep saying that they've changed the end. I think they're just changing the way they get to the end. I think a lot of people are really worried that Belly's going to like pull a Kelly Taylor and like choose herself. I think she might do that, but that's not going to, I think we're going to have a time jump. There was a time jump in the books as well. Like she and Conrad, there were several years removed before they got back together. They wrote letters. I think we're going to do something similar to that. And I think we're going to get the bond right in game. So I'm not really worried about that. I do think the execution, that's going to be what is key. As a book reader, one of the things I hope they would change was the wedding plot, because she and Jeremiah get like engaged. And the only thing they changed about it is instead of like the 2-year time jump, we got a 4-year time jump. So they're 20, I think he's like 22, she's 21. Jeremiah partied too much, couldn't be bothered to read an email, and now he's going to have to repeat his senior, or not repeat his senior year of college, but he's going to have to be a super senior and basically like stay for one more semester. Belly has one more year of school left, and I like some of the rare jellyfish, that's what their ship name is. Belly Jeremiah fans are like, I don't see why everybody's, we don't like them. I don't see why everyone's freaking out about this. And like, I feel like Laurel, Belly's mom, was like, fine, wait a year then. Like, finish school. I know I can't talk much because you and I got married very young, but we were done with school. we weren't in the middle of school. And this clearly was an engagement after we have ourselves a Ross Rachel situation on a breakup, whatever you want to call it, with Belly and Jeremiah. Yes, that did happen in the books. I thought that's something they might change.
Just raise the way you flowed that last conversation for a second. I thought you were talking about us for a minute, and I was like, well, I don't remember any of that.
No, not us. Belly, Jeremiah. Back to the characters. We have a Ross Rachel type situation on our hands with a break. That did happen in the books. One of the things I thought for the show, I thought the show might change that a little bit, because in the books, it was almost like, oh, wow, like Jeremiah's so like immature. You find out once he and Belly get together, she sees this other side of him. She had really only seen like the fun, beachy vacation at their cousin's beach every summer. That's the name of the beach. They're not cousins. It's called Cousins Beach. So don't be snarky, Daniel. And I thought that they might like actually go easier on Jeremiah's character, since they're trying to make it a mystery and there are a lot of people that do like those two together. No, they went harder at it. Like they made it worse. They made the whole like cheating. I personally would consider it cheating, and I was always on Rachel's side too. Because to me, if you truly love somebody so much like that, you're not going to go out and like sleep with the first thing that you see within 5 seconds. So whatever you want to do, I don't, argue with that what you want. That's still a very hurtful thing. So Jeremiah in the books only like cheated like one time. Like he hooked up with the same person twice in Cabo in the show, and they're just making it way worse. They made the proposal way worse because they had Steven get in an accident. He's fine. So he like proposes to her like outside of the hospital. Like talk about emotional manipulation. Like it's just And I feel like with the fandom that most people are on the right side of history, Team Conrad, because it's ultimately their story. Like Belly is still in love with Conrad. Duh. Like they still like there's still feelings there. And a lot of the people that like Jeremiah, I think, like him because the actor's cute, and it's just like a lot of younger kids, like people that are watching it not with like life experience. I haven't seen a lot of grown-ups that like that ship. So whatever. I think they're like I was actually surprised. That's my biggest take. I was like, wow, they're going worse on Jeremiah than I thought. Then they actually had him be supportive about Belly getting a year abroad in Paris. And they flipped that in the last episode where Belly was like, you know what? I don't want to leave you. I think I'm going to stay. And he's like, oh, good. I want you to stay. And I'm like, oh. So my millennial heart as a woman, I'm taken back to a little show I like to call The Hills, which was a spinoff of Laguna Beach, where Lauren Conrad, last name not related to Conrad of the show, she will always be the girl that didn't go to Paris, and she chose to stay with Jason, she was not with to this day. Instead of going to Paris, my millennial people know what I'm talking about. But anyway, all that being said, I'm still really enjoying the show. I think it's just going to be a little painful for a minute. We had the whole episode reveal in I think it was episode 3, where they revealed the engagement and everyone like flipped out about it. And Adam, that's Conrad and Jeremiah's dad, who is played by the drummer from Ooh, That Thing You Do. I usually hate Adam, but the way he was clocking Jeremiah left and right, he's like, how are you going to pay for that? With what? And it was just funny. Anyway, I think their dad is really mean and a jerk, but that he did serve some reality truths there. The last episode probably is where the first time Belly's really made me mad in the show, because I felt like she and Jeremiah were like mean, like to Conrad. Like they basically, Belly has a fit. She runs out of the house because Laurel's still not supportive of the marriage. So they go to the beach house, and Conrad's been hanging out at the beach house because he came home for the memorial, got this news dumped on him that his brother is like engaged to his ex-girlfriend. Ugh. And he's just been out there like trying to, get his head right before he flies back out, and he has to see them, and he tells Jeremiah basically, he's trying to, he's like, it's a little ridiculous that you guys are like not willing to wait. Like, why are you want to get married? And they were like making fun of him, like out by the pool. But because Conrad is the better man, he's in therapy, he's trying to get better. He overhears Belly crying in her room after Jeremiah leaves, because he knows, Belly's obviously upset. Like every girl like wants their mom with them to do wedding dress shopping, to help to be there for the wedding. He hears her cry, and you see him be like, ugh. So he decides to not fly back to California, because that's where he is. He's like in med school, basically going to be a doctor. We love that for him. And he ends up staying, makes Belly her favorite muffins for her birthday. And Jeremiah's already gone back to work at his like dad's company or something, because his dad's like, lifeguarding's not going to pay the wedding bills, blah, blah, blah. And Belly's like, oh, you remembered it was my birthday? And he's like, I always remember. And they hug. And in that hug, that 20-second hug, I was finally well fed as a fan. And you hear the actor that plays Conrad say, what have I done? So we're finally going to get our Conrad narrated episode. And the books did that too. Almost all the books are from Belly's perspective. But in book 2, you had a couple chapters that was Jeremiah's perspective. And then in the third book, you had Conrad's perspective. So I've been waiting for this for like 3 seasons on the show. And I feel like we've had to suffer through these first like 4 episodes and barely gotten any Conrad interactions and all these side plots. And I feel like we're finally going to get a good episode. So I had to get all that off my chest, because the summer I turn Vulcan, the summer I turn pretty is back. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and use that as a segue, unless you have anything to say about my show.
I have 2 things to say about your show. First,
really?
A 20-second hug. That's a really long hug.
I don't know if it was 20 seconds, but it It was like their chemistry, they are like connected. It is their story. Like he challenges her.
I was just
he
joking.
makes it better. Oh, you were just being sarcastic?
Yeah.
Well, I'm trying to be nice because I'm very passionate about
The second item is Jeremiah a bullfrog by chance? Hey, everybody, guess what?
Jeremiah sucks.
We've been watching Star Trek.
Yes.
If you can't tell by how much Star Trek started the conversation here.
So in the summer, I turned Vulcan, Star Trek Strange New Worlds, Season 3. I pretty much agreed with what you said in your solo episode. I did not, once again, the premiere was a bust for me. It was like we had that, I wish they would just included that at the end of Season 2, but I guess they had to sizzle us. It just felt very flat. But one of the criticisms that I had of it was that Patel.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not Patel, it's Batel.
Batel.
Why am I losing his...
Captain Pike?
Captain Pike. I was about to say the guy from the Britney Spears movie. Because Captain Pike is in Crossroads, a great movie with Britney Spears and Gamora, by the way. Gamora's in that from Guardians of the Galaxy. Anyway, his boo, like we thought she might die, we thought she might live, and it seemed like they put just like a tight little, cute little bow on it and sewed it up, and I was like, well, that was too easy. Well, it's not too easy. That's going to be a through plot because they're clearly she like rejected one of the treatments, so they're going to have to try to like do something else to get this like Gorn like out of her or whatever, and Gorn is like the big monsters or something that they were fighting. So I respect that from a plot perspective, but that's still going to be like a through line. Erica clearly had PTSD from that finale. We're getting captured by the Gorn. I think that's going to be a through line, but the through lines are fine when I have my mess around episodes and just fun. And I felt like that episodes 2 and even 3 in a way. 3 is where we got more information on Batel, but there was still fun stuff in it. Really rebounded nicely. And then, of course, the most recent episode we watched, 4, was hilarious. Before I get into what I really want to talk about Star Trek, what do you have to say? I know you kind of already talked about those first.
I'm happy with the season so far. Like I said last week, I've never been a huge fan of the second part of a 2-part episode, particularly when that happens to be like part 1 was the finale of a season and part 2 is the start of a new season. You
wait like what, 2 years?
Because like it's just, I don't know. I don't feel like I've ever been fully satisfied with the conclusion of the part 2. And I'm not talking just about Star Trek. I'm talking like in general. I just feel like they've never paid off that cliffhanger, and it's always just ended up being a cheap, like, make sure you come back next season kind of a ploy to get people to come back, which I don't think was ever the case for this show. That they were already filming or trying to film season 3 when season 2 aired, and then of course the strike shut stuff down and all that happened. So, but I think it's rebounded. The 3 episodes after that have been exactly what I want out of this show.
And you got Q.
Got Q. That was great. That was awesome.
Son. We had a little, okay. All right. All right. Let's get into it.
Go for it.
Chapel. Nurse Chapel comes back with this man. What's his name? Dr. Corby.
Yeah.
Can I just say that Dr. Corby, I think like he is a creepy teacher. I think he groomed her and played on her. Talk about emotional manipulation in another show. Like she was grieving like the loss of her mother or something, or a sad experience. I don't know what it was. And he used that to boo her up. Why? That the whole relation, I know that they are canon in the original series, but just the way they introduced it and explained why suddenly she went from being super into Spock, broke up with Spock to go do this internship, fine, or fellowship, fine. She's advancing in her career. That's great. But like she basically emotionally closed off from relationships and then shows up with this man with not telling anybody about it, not mentioning it to Spock, and we're all just supposed to sit here and be like, okay. Then we find out he was basically like her teacher. Hello, can we say, casual grooming maybe? I'm not into it. I'm mad.
I mean, I think you're kind of supposed to be mad about it.
Yeah, but am I supposed to? I felt like they want us to be like chill with this character.
Well, I don't think there's anything wrong with the character. I think your
he
characterization...
clearly booed her up!
I think your characterization of grooming is going a bit far.
Power.
They're both people in their at least late 20s, maybe even
she
early
was still
30s.
His student. There was a power dynamic at play. I don't
He's
know.
the person
like
running the fellowship, and she's attending the fellowship
I
of
don't
adults. I
like
think
it.
I think it's a little bit different than how you're characterizing it, my opinion.
So you ship them?
I didn't say that.
But that's okay, though, because I've moved on.
I only ship the USS Enterprise NCC 1701, ma'am.
Okay, I ship like everybody. But I guess that Spock has become like the community bicycle of Star Trek. So, and you know what? I'm down for it. I said it so last season. I said, well, these characters look hot together. So Spock and Leon, am I saying her name right?
Yeah.
He was like, she was teaching him how to dance last season, and they've had some scenes, and I remember remarking about their chemistry. Then they had another scene after, Chapel and the whole like wedding, because we had like a fake wedding debacle because Q was doing a mess around. And I'm like, am I reading too much into this? Are they hinting at something? Yes. Can we say, so in the most recent episode, they kissed. And I'm like, oh!
You had, can I say, I've seen you have that reaction in like, again, shows like
the
One
Summer I
Tree
Turned
Hill,
Pretty.
A Summer I Turned Pretty, that kind of show. You had that reaction to a Star Trek.
I did. I had to, because it was like, oh my gosh, I got this. And I guess online, the fandom is really split on it, but I like it. I'm down for it. I think right now they are both like kind of in an emotional place because she obviously was into Kirk.
Yeah.
He clearly has had his heart broken. So they're obviously, we know they're not like an endgame situation. But I think they're making Spock like this for a purpose. And I think something's going to happen when this show ends, why he's going to close himself off a little more to some relationships. It's very interesting, too, that eventually we know Spock's going to be into Jim Kirk. And that's like Leon's into Kirk. Like, maybe that's like the tie. Because I've suddenly, after I lingered too long on a Star Trek edit on TikTok, now I'm getting all kinds of, like, Spock, Kirk.
You're not ignoring them. You sent one to me.
I did. I sent you one with "She's Got Away." It was good. It was good edit with Spock and Kirk, right?
Yeah.
What do you think of the two of them together? I think they look good together. I'm for it. I'm all for it. Chapel's off with that stupid man.
It's ultimately doomed.
Yeah, but so what?
Yeah. So
I felt like, while I liked Spock and Chapel, I honestly think, and I felt this in season 1, that the actors have better. Those two actors, Spock and Leon, have like better chemistry.
I do agree with
like,
you.
They
that
look
I think,
hot.
I think the way they're going to explain it, storytelling wise, is like both of them are people who are like kind of going through some rejection at the moment. So I did have a note that you had me write down about Star Trek. Male nurse onesie.
Yeah. So when Chapel wears the onesie, it didn't look as weird to me. The male nurse that they have in it, it looks like he's in like a baby's outfit. Like, like a, it just doesn't look, it looks weird. It looks odd. So speaking of the medical staff, Dr. Mbenga, do we think we're going to see why his eventual exit would play out for being in charge? Because he just straight up admitted that he killed that Klingon guy and didn't care. And that was season 2. Yeah.
I think that they have to start so we know that there's a 4th season and a shortened 5th season, and that's going to be it. And from what the showrunner has said is the last thing you're going to see at the end of this series is Kirk's first day. So
can I please get McCoy?
A couple things that have to happen. By the time Kirk has his first day, Mbenga is not the chief medical officer.
Yeah.
Now, he is still on the Enterprise, or at least comes on the Enterprise occasionally because he is in original series episodes. McCoy is also not there necessarily at the very beginning of original series. I think I have trouble believing they won't get him in there sometime, either in season 4 or in season 5. I really have a lot of trouble with that.
What's a particular actor? Like, if you think of any actor right now off the top of your head, because I have one.
McCoy?
I have one who I would pick for McCoy.
I can't think of anybody for McCoy right now off the top of my head.
Okay, hear me out. I'm gonna say the actor's name, and you're gonna be like, who? And then I'll tell you what show he's in. Jake Johnson, Nick from New Girl. I think would make a fantastic McCoy for the age range that we'd be looking at. Grumpy, still funny, I think he could play like because we don't want someone too old, and he's older. Like
Right.
he would be age appropriate.
McCoy is a little bit older than Kirk.
Yeah,
and,
but so I
and
think
them,
Jake
yeah.
Johnson's probably a little bit older than Paul Wesley.
I could maybe see it. I don't know.
I think
the only thing
that's in my head. That's what it's working for me.
I've never seen him do any acting. If
Yes,
that
you
makes
did.
any
You
sense.
we watched him in that movie. Let's Be Cops.
Again, I've never seen him do any acting. I've always seen him doing comedy acting, and I think
think
to
he could
do
bring
this
funny.
show, you'd need to be a little bit more than just a comedy haha actor.
Jess had serious scenes.
He also would have to work on a bit of an
My
accent.
friends call me Gay Nick.
I don't hate it, but I also don't think that's going to happen. I think that they'll.
Well,
probably,
I don't think they're going to cast him.
I think,
no.
yeah, I think they'll pull some, especially you got to remember, depending on how, like, all this shakes out, it might. They're not going to spend a ton of time getting a big actor who's only going to do the role like 2 episodes and then
I
the
wouldn't
show
call
ends.
him a big actor, would you?
He's not going to come in for 2 episodes of of the end of a Star Trek show.
You know what I wish they would have done though? I really wish they would have just let Paul Wesley play Sam too with a fake mustache. That would have been funny.
That would have been funny.
Or gotten like Ian Somerhalder, who obviously Stefan and Damon, to come on there. So the last episode was is that our first holodeck?
That is canonically the first holodeck in Star Trek.
Do you want to explain what the holodeck is briefly? Explain it in 2 sentences.
I feel stupid explaining this to people. Like, go watch Star Trek. The holodeck is a holographic deck
Simulation?
that you can walk into, and it will transport. It transforms the room into wherever
like
you
they've
programmed
done like
it to
Sherlock Holmes stuff before.
And fake people, and holograms show up in it as people, and it always turns into a mess around because there's supposed to be safety protocols, but they never work.
It never works. We got a little bit more Scotty trying to fix it, but we had Leon go in there, and she's basically being like a detective. So they basically, I felt like it got very meta, like trying to do like a cheesy version of Star Trek.
Mm-hmm.
And they had Kirk, played by Paul Wesley, in the episode, and he was just overkill with the brooding faces. And can I just say that Paul Wesley has made Instagrams before where he makes fun of Ian Somerhalder's like sexy Damon face, and he was absolutely making that face. And you've seen, you know who I'm talking about, Damon, Ian Somerhalder, the broody face.
Yeah, I'm aware.
Does that not look like how?
Yeah.
And I feel like Paul was like straight up like doing that face that he does when he makes fun of Ian, who played his brother on the TV show The Vampire Diaries. I felt like he was doing that when he was like serving looks like Stefussy. If you know, you know, Vampire Diaries girlies.
I wish I didn't know.
You do. Because one time Daniel was like, what does Stefussy mean? And I'm like, oh. I thought it was good.
Yeah, no, the whole episode was good. This was my favorite episode of the season so far.
Same, agreed.
It's up there in the top, not just Strange New Worlds episodes, but probably Star Trek episodes. I just thought it was really good. I really enjoyed too the kind of meta commentary on Star Trek itself, because the whole episode kind of revolved, the holodeck mystery revolved around a canceled a 60s sci-fi show being canceled, and the actress that plays Uhura got to give a speech about why this was important and why it needs to be given a chance, and it really felt very much like that's what it meant to people in the 60s, what Star Trek meant to people in the 60s and 70s and 80s and 90s when people were watching it. And so I thought that it was really well done. It was funny, it was entertaining, it was a great episode.
And it's a way, one of my questions, while I love Paul Wesley and I like seeing Kirk, was how often are we going to be able to realistically work Kirk into these storylines? That's a way that and I'm sure he is going to show up as Kirk, real Kirk, in the scenes, but that's a way that you can get him in to come do like one of those mess around episodes. I'm going to say my main complaint about Star Trek before we move on. What are we doing with these wigs? Una's wig looked just terrible. Like, can we just let Rebecca Romaine wear her blonde hair and be like, Una got a makeover or something?
You're talking specifically about the third episode.
Not good at all, but there was one episode, I think it was the third one, where she had it like an updo, and it looked bad. Even you were like, that is a bad wig. Why are we having such bad wigs?
I don't know. It was not a good one.
Do you wear wigs?
I really have been irritated by in the same way I've ruined movies for you with ADR and a couple of other things. You ruined wigs for me because you told me the trick to figuring out if it's a wig or not. And I don't like it. And I don't like it.
And there are some really good wigs and there are some bad wigs. know what's going to happen in the next episode. I'm really excited for some
Dr.
Spock,
Corby
Leon
shows back
stuff.
up.
Yeah. I really like. I want some more Spock smooching. I don't know why people are so. There's people that are really into it, and then there's other people that are really about it. But I'm down for it. I think it's all going to serve a purpose. I think because we're seeing a more emotionally open Spock than what we've seen him in other things. I think the end of this show, something is going to happen. I predict that sadly Leon might be the one that dies. Maybe she makes a sacrifice. Maybe that impacts him. I don't know. Whatever it is. I hope she doesn't. I hope she goes on and has a thriving career and we've just never heard of her before on the original series. But I think something's going to go down that's going to impact Spock a little bit. And I don't think this is just being done because Ethan Peck is hot, the guy that plays him, and we want to show him kissing people. But guess what, guys? Star Trek fans, to you and to all maybe one of you out there that like Star Trek like Daniel, the way to get me to watch is to put in romance.
We continued our conversation in episode 113, Wednesday. Okay, well, that brings us around to a couple things we've been watching. Of course, everybody here is aware we've been watching The Summer I Turned Vulcan. The Summer I Turned Pretty and Star Trek Strange New Worlds. Both of those just got one episode over the last week that we've watched. Anything in particular you wanted to point out about one of those two shows? Yes,
it was the best episode of The Summer I Turned Pretty to date. We finally got Conrad's point of view, and Team Jellyfish, y'all are cooked. Because you even watched a little bit with me, and you were like, oh, she needs to be with Conrad. You said that.
Did I? Okay.
And so it was a great episode. It's clear to me who Belly has a connection with. I do not like the thought of Denise and Steven getting together, but I'm sure they will. But I have hope that Steven and Taylor will be in game. And it was just really nice to finally see Conrad's point of view, not to see these useless side plots. Because again, I don't want filler episodes in short seasons. Strange New Worlds, great, loved it. We had the whole Leon and Spock kiss. They absolutely addressed that. Chapel knows about it. So we got ourselves a little awkward love square thing going on, and all those people had to work on a mission together.
And you loved it.
And I loved every second of it. And I'm just excited for more Star Trek. Did you have anything particularly?
The only thing I wanted to say was I am interested. The way they're keeping Captain Patel's story going instead of just putting that away and moving forward is interesting to me. And it does feel like they're weaving that story towards a big something. I don't know what it's going to be.
It's been a really good through plot.
Yeah, but it's a through plot that they've kept going, and this episode in particular, I think, really added a level of intrigue to it.
Absolutely.
With why does this ancient being that was trapped in this temple suddenly know that she's got a Gorn inside of her? Like that is intriguing, and I'm interested to see how it plays out.
My complaint of that for opener episode was, well, they tied that up with a neat bow, but they didn't, and they're really going for it. And yeah, I'm excited for that as well.
We continued on with our Summer I Turned Vulcan series in episode 115, Marvin Takes Over.
We actually did watch some TV. We've been watching some TV, and there's a lot of things cooking for The Summer I Turned Vulcan kind of mini-series, which is The Summer I Turned Pretty Season 3 and Star Trek Strange New Worlds Season 3. Let's go ahead and kick it off with The Summer I Turned Pretty first, because I got a lot to say.
Before you get into like that specific show, I just want to say that like when we came up with The Summer I Turned Vulcan thing, before we'd even watched an episode of either of the shows, because like we just saw that they were both coming out at the same time, and we're like, haha, what a funny joke.
Yeah.
As the Star Trek season has gone on, it has been kind of strange how relationship focused the show has been, to the point where it's like really is matching the energy of the theme that we're going with here. And I just wanted to remark that that's been a very interesting and delightful development.
It has been, and I'll get a little bit more into how on the nose that's been when we talk about Star Trek. But we're talking about Summer I Turned Pretty first.
What's Belly up to?
A lot's been happening, guys. So the last couple episodes have been the best of the season. I think the last one I talked about on the show was Conrad's Point of View episode. We have since had the Bachelorette parties. That episode was fantastic. Now, I don't know if Daniel's going to have time to find the clip. Roll the clip if it exists.
He's not.
So he's not. Okay, so apparently you can roll clips of me when I say out of pocket things, but can't find something of yourself.
Absolutely.
But Daniel asked me when we were talking about The Summer I Turned Pretty earlier, and he's like, and I was talking about Jeremiah Fisher, and he's like, was Jeremiah a bullfrog? So cue the Bachelor episodes, and they're at Jeremiah's bachelor party, and suddenly on the speaker comes, Jeremiah was a bullfrog, and I about fell off the couch. And I'm like, how do you do that? So in that episode, we finally have Conrad learns about the cheating, the on a break, the Cabo situation that Jeremiah inflicted upon Belly. He doesn't know that Belly knows. But then Conrad decides he's going to lay it all out there. He sees Belly on the beach. She was supposed to meet Jeremiah, but shocker, shocker, man-child Jeremiah is passed out drunk. And Conrad says, you know, I still love you. And it was iconic, such an amazing scene. And Belly at her bachelorette party was dancing around to the Ariana Grande song, like, We Can't Be Friends, and basically had like an edit montage of Conrad in her head. And then she's in there in the bathroom, because all the girlies, we always have our deep, serious talks in the bathroom. And she's like, I didn't picture any of this. I always pictured Conrad. And it's like, oh! But of course, when Conrad made the confession, Belly was like, no, how could you say this? Which, you know, it is kind of weird that he says it like 2 nights before her like wedding. Like, that's when he decides to come clean with his feelings. So she's like, don't talk to me about this, blah, blah, blah. And that pretty much played out like the book. So then the next episode, which felt like an actual movie, the best episode I've ever seen of the series. It is the rehearsal weekend. And finally, war is over. Belly and Jeremiah are done. Woo! Oh, that also happened last week. The wedding's off. Belly and Jeremiah aren't getting married. Travis and Taylor are engaged. Pumpkin Spice, college football, Sabrina's album. Amazing. So it pretty much played out very similarly to how it does in the books. And I think that the few of you, the weirdos that ship Jelly, Jeremiah, and Belly, I think you guys have to be glad at how they did this episode, because I felt that it did show that there was true love there. Their goodbye scene was really meaningful. I mean, it even had me feeling sorry for Jeremiah at one point and actually shedding tears for him. There's this whole plot about the letters in the book. Susanna, the Jeremiah and Conrad's mom who passed away, she had written them letters for the wedding. Somehow the letters got mixed up. And that scene where Jeremiah's picking up his letter and he realizes he accidentally has Conrad's letter pretty much solidified, because she basically was like, I've never seen you, you know, Susanna from the grave is like, I can't, this wedding can't happen. So like from the beyond, she's, you know, making sure
there's ghosts happens. In this.
Okay. Anyway, it was like, I've never seen you as happy as when you were in love with Belly. And you, in the whole, like the way, imagine even somebody like Jeremiah, who's a man child, and it just feels like everything's against you. You found out that your own brother confessed to love to your fiance. You still think your fiance is in love with your brother, and you're right about it. Your own dad doesn't like you, and then you're looking for comfort from your mother from the beyond, and you get that letter. And I thought that Gavin, who plays Jeremiah, acted well. Honestly, all 3 of the leads of the main cast were phenomenal. They made it emotional. They made it great. Taylor, I feel very vindicated about that. Taylor's my girl. I did not like Taylor in the books. Love Taylor in the show. And she's always been kind of like a jelly shipper until she realized, because I feel like she was always like that because she only saw Conrad with the information Belly was giving her. And she wanted, you know, what's best for her friend. And she gets, so, but now that she's hearing Belly say, like, I've only pictured Conrad, and she knows that Jeremiah cheated and all these things, Taylor, like, right before the wedding, sorry, am I boring you, Marvin? Marvin just yawned. I don't know if that's on camera. Taylor's like, are you sure you want to do this? Like, I don't think you should do this. She's like, you guys are so codependent on each other, which they are. Belly and Jeremiah, the whole crux of their relationship is they leaned on each other after Susanna's death. And I feel like it's almost like that child petulance of, you know, like, what does Frasier say in that episode? It's because I love her. Where he's going to commit to being in love. That's what it's giving. That's what it's giving. And I was so glad, because people have just like crapped on Taylor all season. And then I was also really glad about Steven. That's Belly's brother. Everyone's always been like, Steven is such a bad friend to Jeremiah. No, he's not. Like, he actually stood up for Jeremiah and actually told Conrad, like, hey, what are you doing? He's like, we haven't heard from you. Why are you doing all this now? And does he have all the facts? Of course he doesn't. But to the outside person, what Conrad did, isn't great. The timing was bad. So Steven proved to be a great brother to Belly. And also, oh my gosh, I was so worried with Steven and Denise. That's like their coworker. I was so worried that they were going to. Yeah, I was so worried they were going to put them together. They had them kiss and they're like, ugh, not feeling it at all. And so Staylor's back on, Steven and Taylor. Love that. Well, anyway, the wedding does not go through. Jeremiah basically says, you can't marry me to erase him, which is very similar to what they say in the book. So Belly is going to Paris. And guess what? As a book reader, we're done with the book. There's only like the little page, like the 2 seconds of flash forward in that book left. And we have 3 more episodes, including the episode that's already dropped. And you crazy people that get up at 4 a.m., you've already watched it. You know what happens. I think we're going to have an Emily in Paris type thing, but Belly in Paris.
Bonjour.
I do worry that this first ep, because we got that extra episode, which seemed weird, 11 episodes. I'm not sure we're seeing any of the other cast, including Conrad. I think it might just be Belly forming her own friendships. They're going to have a time jump. Now, she did see Conrad at the airport before she was getting ready to go to Paris. Don't ask me why the gate to California would be right beside the gate to get on an international flight, but it's TV magic. I think they're going to lock eyes and she's going to get on that plane, or I think he's not even going to see her and she's going to get on that plane, because at this point, Conrad thinks she's married to his brother. So we have a lot of content left to fill that we didn't get in the books. And I'm excited to see where the show goes. Marvin is clearly over it and is like, why is mommy so animated? But I'm really looking forward to seeing how these next few episodes of The Summer I Turned Pretty turn out. I've been kind of given just like random little updates on this show, but I had to talk a lot because that episode was amazing. And a lot of you guys have been messaging me, asking me my thoughts on it. So those are my thoughts. I think it's going to play out very similarly to the book, but we're going to actually get to see more development of Belly's, life away finally from these brothers. I think she will date, somebody else just like she does in the book. And I'm not worried at all about Conrad and Belly being in game. I don't think she's going to ultimately choose herself. Maybe they won't get married like they do at the end of the book, but I think they'll be together and I think we're going to be fine. And if not, we ride at dawn.
Well, thank goodness for all of that. And Star Trek also.
Yes. So speaking of The Summer I Turned Vulcan, we really all did turn Vulcan.
Yeah, they did.
So that's what I meant by on the nose. We had an entire, I think that was the most recent episode where they all, I don't know why, they kind of had a throwaway line about why they all had to be Vulcans.
It was not,
It was for the bit.
Yeah.
But it was incredible. The perfect type of mess around. We also had another episode, which I don't think we've talked about yet, with one of the previous ones that was Kirk focused.
Yeah.
And they were going over to help his ship, and they intentionally had it with Scotty and Uhura, right?
And Spock and Chapel.
Because they're all the original crew.
Yep.
So that show, relationships. Lots of drama. We have Spock and Leon. Lon, am I saying her
Lon,
name right?
I think is how they say it
She's
on
like
the
my
show.
favorite character, but half the time some people pronounce her name wrong. I still think that Spock and Chapel have a thing, even though Chapel's with that doctor guy. I think that Kirk still likes Lon, and that
it's a mess.
And she'd be down. I don't know. There's a lot going on. Like I feel like there's as much relationship drama right now in Star Trek as I do The Summer I Turned Pretty.
Yeah, definitely. I've been enjoying the season so far. I think we've lost a little bit of the plot from early in the season when we were dealing a lot more with Battelle and her kind of like what was going on with the Gorn DNA in her in these last episodes. But again, it's Star Trek. I want it to be episodic, so I want each episode to kind of be its own thing.
Yeah. And
with a little bit of like continuing story going through it, but for the most part it's its own thing. And they've been doing that.
And they did sprinkle that in with the Vulcan episode because she's trying to get reinstated, not necessarily to be a captain, but to work again. And that other Vulcan guy had to come over that Pike apparently just does not like.
Yeah.
But because Pike was in his Vulcan form when he came over, he said all these things, and then it caused Battelle to actually just like snap and be like, "Oh my gosh, you guys are driving me nuts." And they were like, "Oh, to be, in this role, you need to speak freely," and that's what she did. I think that they will circle back. I think that's probably going to be what the finale. We have 2 more episodes.
Yes.
I think that'll be something dealing with Battelle is going to be part of that finale and the whole DNA thing and the whole Gorn thing. I think they will see that through, and that's going to be
here's my
probably
big question for
Stinner.
you about that character, because you said to me after that last episode, she's actually starting to become one of your favorite characters.
Yeah, she's
cooked.
She's cooked. She's cooked. Unfortunately, they're giving her a personality.
She doesn't have the plot armor.
Yeah, we're getting to know her more. Well, that's what concerns me so much with the series as a whole, as that Lon doesn't have plot armor either.
Yeah.
We're being barked at right now by Marvin. He's like, enough Star Trek
Fine,
talk.
we'll stop talking about Star Trek.
In episode 116, Wednesday Part 2, we continued the conversation.
All right, speaking of weekly release, let's return to The Summer I Turned Vulcan series, where we talk about Star Trek Strange New Worlds, Season 3, and The Summer I Turned Pretty, Season 3. Since the finale is airing this week for Star Trek, we will kick it off with Star Trek Strange New Worlds. I will let you go first because I have some beef and I'm very upset with that show.
Ladies
right
and
now.
gentlemen, we got her. We got her to be so emotionally...
I almost broke my glasses.
So emotionally
My new glasses.
invested in a Star Trek episode that she made me pause it, and she stormed out of the room, went to the kitchen, snacked on some food for a few minutes to cool off before we could finish the episode. Thank you. My job here is done.
I hate you for that. I almost broke my glasses. I was so upset at the ending. They have me literally mad. My favorite character on the show tends to be Lon, and she's been bugging me this season anyway. Even though I did kind of like her and Spock hooking up, I just feel like her personality is just like some of the character growth that she showed in the previous season. I feel like they've retracted that a little bit. When she and Chapel had that conversation, and Chapel was just trying to be nice and not make it awkward. That like, hey, like good for you and Spock. Lon gave seriously pick me, I'm not like other girls energy, and I can't stand it when women do that. So I was already irritated by that. But I'll say why I'm mad at Lon in a minute. But I was so mad. And then also, ladies, that was an emotional week for me at the build up to a certain thing. So I already had that going for me. I cried. And
Okay.
I was
So
very upset.
Yeah, I'll tell everybody. First, before we...
I told you I was going to quit watching too.
I
might not tune in Thursday.
Is this your favorite episode of Strange New Worlds?
It's not my favorite. My favorite is still the musical episode from season 2. But if I were to take a step back and rate what I think is the best episode, it would be this one.
Okay. So this was a classic sci-fi trope episode where Ortega's, our favorite pilot of the ship, ends up stranded on a strange alien planet, and oh my gosh, she meets a Gorn who's been the big bad of Strange New Worlds and is also stranded there. And it's the classic sci-fi trope of the alien and the human have to they're adversaries, but they slowly, as the episode goes along, they learn to work together to the point where they form a friendship. And then so they finally figure out a way to message the Enterprise. The Enterprise comes to pick them up, and when they come out of the place where they've been hiding, Ortega's comes out, the Gorn follows. Leon has just beamed in. She sees a Gorn and just pumps 3 shots of phaser right into the Gorn. No questions asked.
Not even seeing Ortega smiling at her. Just completely knee-jerk reaction. And I know that Lon has a lot of childhood beef with the Gorn. I get it. But literally, she kind of proved, Ortega's brother that was doing that, documentary.
Yeah.
Was trying to talk some of the bad side of Starfleet. And, I believe Lon was one of the characters, sometimes you guys just shoot without asking. She just proved his point.
Yeah.
It made me so mad because, you could see that Ortega was smiling, that she wasn't in danger. And the other ones had their guns, I think, ready to shoot. But Lon just, did it. No questions asked, nothing, no time to think. And maybe she's no, I was doing my job. The Gorn are evil. So I guess you could defend her for that way. But it broke my heart because, y'all, enemies to lovers, it also works with friends. Anytime, so, yes, the enemies to lovers is my favorite romance trope, but I also love friendships also being formed from, some of my best friendships in real life started off with, I thought you were the B word, a B-I-T-C-H. And when people say that to me too, and then we end up, being besties, some of my top friendships have come from, I didn't like that person, they didn't like me, and then we ended up, realizing, maybe we are that way, but we don't have to be that way to each other, and we can be fun and bond over it. And I was really excited to get an Erica focused episode, because I knew we were going to
I
get
think,
one this season.
Like, she's had prominent roles in other episodes, but I think this might be her first, like, actual real Erica
This was
episode.
her first full-blown A-plot. Erica leads the episode, and I knew it was coming. I didn't know it would be this good, and I feel like there was this scene where they were communicating, and she's like, it's going to say, like, agree, disagree, and it was just funny, like, the banter back and forth, and it got you to, like, understand that, you know, maybe, like, we were, you know, made to be, like, enemies, but we have a lot more in common than we think, and I knew realistically that we weren't going to have a Gorn walking around the Enterprise. But I thought maybe, like, the Gorn would, like, do a sacrifice or something, or maybe they would part ways and help her out. Like, I was just devastated. I was gutted. I was like Erica at the end of that, like, just distraught.
Yeah, I went going in as soon as I recognized the trope of the episode. I knew that Gorn wasn't making it out of there. But like you said, I was willing to accept, you know, that heroic sacrifice, but to just get gunned down like that,
it was brutal.
Was really brutal, and I'm going to say it right now. I'm going to be disappointed in the writers if that's just forgotten.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, that better come up as a contention point between Ortegas and Lon in future episodes. Maybe not necessarily the next episode because it's the season finale, but certainly into season 4. That needs to come up as a point of contention.
Yeah, because her conversation with Ahura at the end, where she was like, well, the Gorn became my friend, but Lon is also my friend, and I don't know how to feel about it. That, to me, is not enough to put closure on that.
Yeah.
I would have liked Lon to at least said she was sorry. And she's probably going to be back to dancing with Spock again in the finale, and there's going to be nothing in that. Because I would have liked Lon to be like, hey, I'm sorry for this. And Lon probably isn't sorry. She's probably not, because she's has a lot of trauma with the Gorn. I don't know, it really rubbed me the wrong way. And Lon is a character who I like a lot, but she doesn't have plot armor. And I said back in season 1 that, I mean, I don't think they'll do this because I think too many people like her. But I was like, what if Lon doesn't, like, die or go off and lead another ship, and for some reason we just never hear from her again, which I think would be weird. I'm like, what if she actually becomes, because she has that, what is it, grandpa is Khan?
Like great, like
she
many,
has
many,
it in
many
her blood,
generations.
people.
Many generations.
Of the evilness. What if she becomes a villain?
Does a heel turn? Could. I don't.
That'd be heartbreaking, but.
It would be heartbreaking. I don't
be
think they're going to
surprising.
go that way, but it wouldn't be completely out of left field either. Real quick before we go on to Summer I Turned Pretty. So because we're releasing this episode right before, like, skin of our teeth before the finale of Strange New Worlds Season 3, we have gotten some final pictures from the last episode. And one of them is our favorite engineer, Mr. Scott,
Computer.
in a kilt. So let me ask you, he was in a kilt earlier this season for the supposed wedding that was actually a fake thing.
Yes.
Scottish people don't wear kilts for things other than special occasions, and everybody on the internet's going, well, he's attending a funeral. If it's a funeral, who's getting got?
I really hope it's not Batel. I feel like they are going to circle back to her because she has that Gorn DNA in there. But then the more I thought about it was like, if they really wanted to, they could save that as a storyline in 4. But then according to you, that's not who Pike ends up marrying. So I don't know. It could be the lady from Kimmy Schmidt. What is her name? With the curly hair.
Paleo, yeah.
The older
Carol
lady,
Kane.
Carol Kane's character. That would disappoint me because
I think
she's so fun, but she's clearly lived a long life.
Yeah, but they've also done that already remember if you
Could
recall.
it be Chapel's wedding?
Maybe, but if you recall, the engineer from season 1 that we all liked sacrificed himself, and I think that would be really sloppy to repeat the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Chapel and Corby ever get married. I'm
so
pretty
they're just,
sure
like, engaged.
when he's referred to as her ex-fiance in the original series when it comes up. I don't think they ever actually, went through with it. I have to be honest. Right now, my money is on Batel. Something's going to happen, and
they're going to
bite
put her
it.
down.
Yeah, they're going to have to put her down. I think is what's going to happen.
Well, I hate that because I finally got to like the character.
But see that right there, that tells you all you need to know.
Yeah, she's cooked.
As soon as they give, especially a character like Ortega's is an every episode character, but Batel is not.
Yeah.
As soon as you get background
And
on
we
one of
know
those
we
kind of people,
have the whole like DNA situation with her.
It's been a through point through the season. I think we're going to get resolution, but I don't think she's making it out of that resolution.
How many more seasons do we have scheduled?
4 is going to be we have a 4th season coming. They're filming now, which is going to be a normal 10 episode season. And then they're doing a 5th season, which I think they said is going to be 6 episodes.
They better not make me wait a whole year then between 4 and 5.
I don't think they're going to.
Like
I think that probably, if I had to guess, I'd say if they don't film 4 and 5 at the same time, there will be a very short break, and then they'll film 5. I think they will have it in the can, ready to go.
I hope so. I think, and we know we're getting Kirk back for the finale.
Yeah, because Paul Wesley was scheduled to be in 4 episodes, but
it
we've
might
only
be
seen
what
him in
if
3.
Pike has to take leave, and Kirk has to show up and take over the ship for a little bit because Pike's grieving.
No, I don't think they're going to do that.
You don't think they're going to do that?
No.
I don't know. It'll be. I really hope that. I think my biggest beef so far with Strange New Worlds is the premieres always suck, and then the other episodes are great. Like the premiere of this one, flat. The premiere of that. So I'd rather not have a major sizzler. So I'd rather just kick things off with a great episode than have a premiere tying up the loose ends of the previous season, because I think that works with some shows, and to me, it does not work very well with Star Trek. I remember season 2 open, and I was like, I don't like season 2 as much. And then the next episode was like, okay, this is good. This one opened, and I was like, well, that after the long, wait, and then and then again, the next couple episodes were great. So I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think we're in for another cliffhanger this year, because I do think when they were filming this season, it up in the air as to whether they were getting another season. So they probably wrapped it up better than they did last.
Well, I'll say my one hope, which I don't think is going to happen this season, but I do hope before the show, closes the final curtain, that we get a wink to McCoy, because he's my favorite from the original series.
Yeah, if that happens, I'll probably know about it before we watch it Thursday.
You didn't know about Scotty, right?
Scotty's not a big 3.
Okay.
So McCoy,
obviously we knew about Paul. That's the reason why I watched.
Yeah, perfect example. We knew Kirk. We knew about Kirk before season 1 even came out, because they were filming season 2.
I was like, hey, I'm going to watch this show with you because Paul Wesley from the Vampire Diaries is in it.
Guarantee you the showrunners were wanting to keep that Kirk coming in at the last episode of season 1 a secret, but they weren't able to do it. So again, I think if somebody had shown up on set,
you can't fool the Vampire Diaries fandom when we see our mans out there. We're going to take pictures and be like, what is this?
I think we would have already heard rumblings about McCoy if he was going to show up. So I don't think that's going to happen this year.
I didn't say this season.
Okay, certainly next year.
I said by the end, before it closes the curtain at season 5.
Oh, no, see, I guarantee you the last shot of this show is going to be Kirk on the bridge with his original crew.
I wasn't meaning this season, Daniel. I said before it calls it quits, closes the curtain, I better see McCoy, and if they do what you're saying, I will.
All right, let's talk about Belly in Paris.
We both said all right at the same time. Okay, so for those of you that are psychopaths, you've already seen the second to last episode of The Summer I Turned Pretty. I, have jobs and I need sleep, and it's not, as I'm recording this, it is a Tuesday, so it is not really Wednesday. So I'm going to talk about the episode where, as Daniel said, Belly goes to Paris. I know this week we have an episode 10, and then next week we'll have episode 11, which will be the series finale of The Summer I Turned Pretty. I don't know why everyone's shocked that this was the last season, because there are only 3 books. And we're already, at the point almost where the book ended. All right, so we have the fallout from the wedding. We have Belly decide she's just going to pop off to Paris. I'm just going to get out of Paris. So it does remind me, all the preview and everything for this episode reminded me of, Emily in Paris, which also comes back in December. Anyway, Belly in that last scene saw Conrad before this episode started. She sees him at the airport. I don't know why the gate to California is right by the gate to Paris. Is that how it is at the Boston airport? I don't know. Convenient. I thought they might lock eyes. They didn't. She sees him and then thinks about going over and decides, you know what, no. And I was like, as much as I would have liked them to look at each other, I was like, good girl, go get on that plane. I do have to address Belly's horrendous travel outfit that she wore, basically the entire day after she arrived in Paris. Who travels in tight jeans? That's diabolical. So uncomfortable. Would you travel in tight jeans and then walk around with it all day in Paris? Like, that's a long flight to be in skin tight jeans.
I barely wear jeans anymore. I can't do it.
I
It's
hate
too
jeans.
much. They're rough. They're hard. As Marvin says, they're hard pants.
Daddy is the hard pants.
He knows that if I put the hard pants on,
leaving
I'm leaving the house, and he hates it. And I hate it, to be honest. Like, I rarely go out in jeans anymore. They're terrible.
I don't even think I would wear jeans on like a short flight, let alone like, a 14-hour flight to Paris. So I had to get that off my chest. But ultimately, I was glad that Belly didn't lock eyes with Conrad, or the people that thought that Conrad was going to see her and that he was going to go with her. You guys are insane. Listen, I am a Bonrad stan. Belly and Conrad, they're meant to be. I also like Conrad. But my girl was just about ready to walk down the aisle and going ahead, even with Conrad's confession of love, she was like doubling down on it, like Frasier, like, I love her. Like, she was going to get married. I feel like if Jeremiah hadn't been like, you can't marry me to erase him, I think Belly might have just gone through with it. Do I think the marriage would have lasted? No. But Belly was in that like little almost petulant child little girl mode, like stomping my foot. So we need some time. And I'm seeing like women like my age being like, why weren't they together already? Oh my God, not only was she about to get married, but the whole like brother situation of it all, like Belly doesn't know who she is outside. Like, she was still in high school when she chose Jeremiah. They got together. They've been together all of college. It seemed to me like once she had her injury, couldn't play volleyball. She's just been kind of not even, she had like one friend she made in college. Like, she doesn't know herself. She needs to learn who she is outside of these boys. So I think it's good. And in the book, she does that too. She goes, I think it's Spain, not Paris in the book. But she goes
España.
off. And she even dates other people. She has her own kind of like life for a little bit. And I think in order to have that end game mean something, that's what needed to happen. So a lot of people were very critical of this episode. And I think that some of you guys need to take a breath and relax. To me, it really served its purpose. Like, there was like, this could have been an email. We watched Belly just chase her bag around Paris the whole time. So she does get to Paris. She goes there to go to the program that she had been accepted to, but originally said no to because she was going to stay behind with Jeremiah. But they said they still had a spot for her. Well, it turns out she goes there and he's like, oh, I looked at the wrong spreadsheet. We don't have a spot for you. And I'm like, are you serious? So she calls Laurel, her mother. Laurel doesn't even know. I thought Laurel did know that Belly had gone off to Paris, and Laurel's like, you're where? She's like, okay, we'll book a flight home. I don't care. She's like, go get yourself a coffee. I don't care how much it costs. Just come home. And we'll deal with this later. So Belly goes to a coffee shop like a moron. She stands up to go pay for something and leaves her backpack on the chair. And she's got her, minuscule, teeny tiny little ring from Jeremiah in there. But also important stuff like her passport. Like, she was freaking out about the rain. I'm like, what about your wallet, your money, your passport? Oh my God. But she had the air tags that Steven got her for her wedding shower that he acted like were a last minute gift. Those come in handy. So she sees where her bag is, and she does chase her bag around the city. I thought it was a nice metaphor, like Belly is finding herself in Paris. I see what you're doing there, Jenny Han. That is the writer of the books and also the producer of the show, and I thought it was well done. I also thought the timing was really funny.
Funny.
Like, all the TikToks and memes have come out about like how you can't pickpocket Americans because we'll fight back. So Belly finds like her bag, and the guy like tries to mouth off, and she just like swings her carry-on because she's still at that, like hits him, and it starts like kicking him, and is like, give me back my bag. And I thought that was great. I feel like, and I know we like Conrad, guys, but Belly is the center of the books. It's her story. It's not the boy's story. And that is the most personality that I have seen from Belly in one episode than I have 3 entire seasons of the show, where she was on her own. And I thought it was very essential to her growth. And a lot of stuff happened. So those of you guys that are just like wanting the Bonrad in-game, be patient, my friends, because I think we're going to get it. I was having sympathy for Jeremiah during the wedding episode. That went out the window in just a whoosh. He was awful. 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 Like, the sound man-child was written for Jeremiah. Not Jeremiah was a bullfrog. Like, man, Sabrina Carpenter, man-child, might as well be written for this man. His behavior was terrible. When he and Belly do finally have a conversation at the end, he was basically like, well, just come home. Like, we can be together. I'm like, what? You guys were so mature. And she's like, no, I can't come home. She's like, I think I'm going to stay. I don't know who I am anymore. We need to find ourselves as people. And he was like, well, don't effing call me ever again. And I was like, oh, I know you did not speak to her like that. And then, of course, at the end, it showed that and the way he spoke to Laurel, oh my gosh, awful. Because she went to go comfort him. Because, keep in mind, he grew up with Laurel. It was almost like being a second mother to him. And he was just a menace, a terrible, like, I get why he doesn't want to be around Conrad. Earn beef. Your brother trying to take your lady. Like, I get it. Even though technically you knew that she still loved Conrad when you decided to pursue her in season 2. But whatever. I was willing to let that go. But miserable. And I haven't dated men like that boys like that in my past that behaved the same way Jeremiah did. At least they were like still in high school. Jeremiah's like 21 years old or something, acting like that. Just terrible. So if they're going to they're going to have to do a little bit better to make me sympathize with Jeremiah and care about him going forward. I did like the scene at the end with Adam, that is Conrad and Jeremiah's dad, who finally decided to, maybe I should be a parent and father my kids and, actually, talk to them and be an emotional support. Because Conrad and Adam, he's like, oh, so did you find Jeremiah yet? He says that he caught off the wedding, but we all know he did something to screw it up. And Conrad's actually like, no, it's kind of my fault. And Adam's like, so he tells Adam about he's like, I told Belly I loved her, and Adam's face was hilarious. It was like, I felt like Adam's like all of us. Like if you were like a real person understanding like what is going on with my kids. And then you find out that all this time, Adam and Conrad have more in common than what you would think. I think that Jeremiah is a lot like Adam in some of the bad qualities, but the way Conrad deals with conflict is so Adam coded. And I think Conrad realizing that was a wake up call. And I felt like he and his dad had an understanding. And then Adam finally goes over to the beach house and actually hugs his son. Not saying Jeremiah, I don't like him, I can't stand him, but he is going through it. And finally they hug and Jeremiah breaks down crying, and it was a good scene just to see Adam finally be a parent. And also Laurel clocked Adam on his crap. I like that. And then they kind of had a laugh about it. So that was a positive takeaway. And also Steven and Taylor, my favorite ship of the show. I'm putting them over Bonrad at this point. Finally got back together. I'm worried they might have gotten back together too soon if we have 2 episodes left, but I'm hoping Jenny's going to do that ship justice. And it was a really good scene between the two of them. I feel like they both had a lot of growing up to do, and they have put in the work. They're not perfect yet, but I think they match, and I like them, and I enjoyed their scene. So if anything, getting my Staylor love scene back on was good. What do I think going forward? Well, I think it's going to play out a lot like kind of the book did. I think you're going to see some more time has passed, and that Belly will, I think we already know that guy Benito, we saw him, because she meets these group of people in Paris that helped her get her bag back. So I think she will date him. I think that people need to settle in, because I think the next episode is going to have some, Belly in Paris, more about her with her friends. I think that we are going to get the letters from Conrad. In the book, he writes her letters. She doesn't write him back for quite some time. I think we're going to get that. My one fear that I have is that Belly and Conrad are not going to get back together until the last 2 seconds of the finale, and that's going to tick me off. Because basically the book felt so abrupt. It was like, oh, we're back together. We see Jeremiah like at the wedding. He has a date. He waves at us. And not only that, I would like to see Jeremiah and Conrad work to repair their relationship and actually be brothers. It doesn't have to be perfect, but I would like to see some communication. And I would like to see a little bit of build-up. There's been some leaks with the actors in Paris, but there was also a leak with Jeremiah showing up in Paris that we think was put in there to throw us off. So I don't know if the timing of the Conrad and Belly leaks sus makes me think that they're extras on sets that know what to do to promote the show, because I'm like, why did you guys sit on this footage and you just now released it of them filming when we've seen the Jeremiah Belly stuff for like a year? Please. I see what you're doing, producers of this show. I respect it, but sus. They're saying that the ending is not going to be a neat little bow. I do not think, and I'm doubling down on this, if I'm wrong, I'll put the clown makeup on. I don't think Belly's going to choose herself and that we're not going to get any resolution. I think ultimately, I even think that if Conrad does come visit her, that maybe they'll have some fun together and she'll be like, you know what, I'm not ready to get back together yet. And then I think the end will still be them together. I don't see an end to this show without her and Conrad being an in-game of some type. Do I think they'll get married? Maybe not. I mean, they do get married at the end of the book. I think it might just be them being together, living together, time jump, if you will. Jenny says that she doesn't want endings with a neat bow, but she wants hope at the end, and I feel like that's how you give fans hope. So, that's my predictions going forward. I am very excited to see how this show will wrap up. If they don't end up being in-game, I will be mad, though. I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah, you'll probably break the TV if any indication.
I'm still mad about another show that I still talk about. It had the worst finale ever. Don't screw me on this. And don't be like, oh, you always have the books to read. No, I want the show.
Star Trek Strange New Worlds Season 3 had its finale, and we talked about that in episode 117, Room Temperature Pizza.
And speaking of Thursday, because it's going to fulfill the Thursday slot, now that Star Trek Strange New Worlds has wrapped its Season 3, let's go right into our Summer I Turn Vulcan series, and we will kick it off with Star Trek Strange New Worlds because the finale has come and gone, and now we have the long wait for Season 4. What did you think?
And we've talked about this a little bit offline.
Offline.
It was I think, kind of a letdown of a season finale.
Agreed.
I thought there were some good moments to it. Obviously, it wrapped up the Battelle storyline as we kind of thought it was going to.
Not the way I thought it was going to.
No, not the way I thought it was going to. I think there were some great moments in it. Certainly, and of course, you were pointing and screaming at the screen at the end when the music started playing for the final montage. But I think that it was interesting that the way they closed this episode really felt like when they did it, they weren't sure if they were getting. Yeah, they weren't sure if they were getting a season 4. So, but there were some great Spock and Kirk moments.
Yes.
And so
Spork.
Overall, a good episode, not a great episode. But I'm looking forward to season 4.
I think I definitely agree with you. I feel like the finale did fall a little flat, but it reminded me of what you said about the finale of Agatha.
Yeah.
Back last fall, that we had that great episode, and then the last episode just felt kind of flat. And I feel like the episode last week with Ortegas and the Gorn, I felt like that was probably one of the best episodes of Strange New Worlds to date, and it was so powerful and impactful that it anything I think was going to feel a little flat.
I think that's the trouble, is that they had that's one of the great, probably one of the best Strange New Worlds episodes, and it's up there in the Star Trek canon of episodes, where that was a really good episode.
Very good episode.
To then follow that up with a story that it felt like,
I think objectively that's the best episode. My favorite's always going to be the musical episode, but I think that is the best episode of it, and to follow it up with that finale. That being said, I feel like if I had to pick a main character on the show, it is Christopher Pike.
Right.
So he usually starts the season and ends it. And I will say this. I was saying, I don't want to have a finale that's going to sizzle me and then start me off with a bummer of a premiere. So they were they did do that for me, because we can start off the premiere for season 4 and we didn't have a sizzler moment. It can pick up, obviously what happened with Battelle, who didn't die, by the way. Who was it? Tiny Tim.
Who didn't die.
Battelle, who didn't die, but now this statue lady repelling evil of the world. I'm not really sure what's going on.
I have some criticism.
Purpose.
The way that all went down, I felt was a little
odd,
writers were let's just
how do we write her off without killing her off? What are we going to do? Because canonically, that is not who he ends up with.
Correct.
I did think it was very interesting. They made it a point to tell us several times in that episode about how time can work differently.
Yeah.
The constructs of time, because there is this part where she makes it out, she's able to save the world from it. The whole thing with the guy that lost his eye, the evil people, that all came back.
Yeah.
And so there's this scenario where she was able to defeat that, and they were able to get married, live together, have children, and we basically go through all their lives. And he's still rocking some great fine hair when he's clearly like, elderly. And then she passes away, and then suddenly it's like almost like she gave him that like vision, like this is what it could have been. But to him, you could tell like when they snapped in back like to the normal timeline we're on, that it felt like he had lived all that time.
Yeah.
So I think that the best way to start the new season would be to have a healthy time jump, because I'm sorry, I don't want to see depressed Pike the whole time. I think he's one of the best leaders in Star Trek. Like we always talk about which captain's the best, and I think they all have their own like unique skill set. I think for me, I would want to work for somebody like him the most, because he like his like teaching style, his leadership style actually speaks to me even more than the great Kirk and Picard. He's just so like level-headed and calm, but also understands emotions. Like, and I was impressed because we meet Pike in the Kelvin universe, right?
Yes.
I liked Pike in the Kelvin universe too. So I think like he's a really good captain and a good leader, and I don't want to see just him be mopey. And I feel like that scene at the end where they're all like, we're there for you. I think that was a good moment, and he's going to be okay. But I would like to see a time jump moving forward. And hopefully, I think one of my biggest criticisms of Strange New Worlds is that the premieres always seem like a dud to me. And then we get into really good episodes, and maybe we can avoid all that. I definitely agree with you. It absolutely felt like they tried to tie up loose ends. They even had that line like, well, we've got 5 years to explore, which is the part like with 5 years. So we know we're getting the 5 seasons. Back to the stone you mentioned. So Mr. Paul Wesley,
you were gonna let that go.
who plays Captain Kirk on Strange New Worlds, is also probably most known, I'm going to say, as Stefan Salvatore on a show I call The Vampire Diaries, or we all call The Vampire Diaries.
I say, do other people call it something else?
No. And, well, it's Stefussy. But it's like
no, we're not going there. We're not
going there. Anyway, one of the best scenes in The Vampire Diaries is where Damon, I'm not going to get into how he gets there, but there's a thing called the prison world. Damon's trapped. Stefan thinks Damon's dead, like dead. I know they're vampires. It's a thing. But he thinks he's never going to see Damon again. So we've got Stefan in their family crypt, like basically being like, I'm so lost without you, brother. I miss you so much. And he throws the bottle of bourbon, and Damon catches it, and he's like, Damon? How am I seeing you right now? And he's like, it's me. And they hug. Because, like, ultimately, while we always had the love triangle, the heart of the show was the love that the Salvatore brothers, Stefan and Damon, had for each other. And I don't know what the name of the song is, but every time I hear that song, I think of that scene. So suddenly, I'm on Star Trek, and I'm like, oh my gosh, they're playing the song. And then I'm like, did Paul Wesley be like, use this song? Because now I've seen, and I've cried twice over Paul Wesley with this song. I wish I knew what the name of the song was.
Only there were a way to find out.
The song is called "Wait" by M83, but it's very good.
Oh, I know M83.
Okay.
I have a lot of stuff of theirs on my Spotify lists.
Well, they picked a banger of a song, and now I've had to cry to Paul Wesley to this song twice. And it's kind of like, obviously, Una's there for Pike with the drink, and then of course we get, like you said, the Spock Kirk scene, because they had to do the Vulcan mind meld.
They had to do a mind meld to coordinate the ships and be perfect, and it was a whole thing just to get Kirk and Spock closer together.
And he was like, be gentle, and I'm like, ah! And then they like stared into each other's eyes, and they clearly, I think, both know that both of them like have a thing with Lon, which is a whole other thing. I'm like, I've never really rooted for a throuple in a show, but I'm like, I'd be down.
Well, you finally said to me the thing in this episode
that's the ship.
That's the ship. Kirk
That's
and Spock
the ship.
is the ship. Yes.
My wishes going forward, I've got to meet McCoy at some point. They must cast him.
I can't imagine that we've got season 4 is confirmed, and season 5 will be shortened, but we'll get 6 episodes in season 5. I cannot imagine that we go through all that without getting McCoy.
If you could think of any actor out of thin air, who would you cast for McCoy?
I don't. I hate doing that.
You hate doing that?
Yeah, because I never would have come up with Paul Wesley for Kirk, and he's doing a great job. So I'm just going to let the
Fantastic job.
I'm just going to let the casting directors of this show do their thing, because they've been. I love the cast. Everybody in this show is great, and they've always done a great job with getting people in.
The only thing we don't like are the wigs that they make.
Sure, but that's costuming. So I'm just going to let the casting directors do their thing and go with it.
All right. Well, it might have been a flat finale, but an overall great season.
Yep.
So moving on, we have The Summer I Turned Pretty Season 3. I'm talking to you guys about Episode 10. we have the finale, which will be the series finale, coming this Wednesday. And these last few episodes have been so good. This one was, I keep saying, like, this was my favorite. I think this might be my favorite. We had our full-blown actual Belly in Paris arc. She is now in Paris. She is working. She's found a job. She's found some roommates. And at first, you see that she's struggling to adapt. She's still struggling with the language. Her roommates, like, take her coffee. Like, they don't save her any. She's trying to, like, connect with them. But we basically have a year pass by of time. And she gets more and more comfortable, really is finding herself there. And it's everything I wanted to see for this character, because I feel like she's been so stunted and she needed to go away. Like, everybody that's like, oh, I want her with Conrad right away. No, this needed to happen. She needed to get away from even her mom, even the Fisher brothers, to really go find herself, because a lot of people find themselves in college, and she didn't really do that because she was stuck in a codependent relationship with Jeremiah. And you find that, he's still not really speaking to her, but that changes later on in the episode. Steven and Taylor are solid. They're moving in together. They're having Friendsgiving together, Thanksgiving. I'm so happy with them. I really hope that Jenny's not going to pull a fast one on me and break them up. I think they're in a really good place. And suddenly, I think I like Jeremiah when he's not with Belly and when he's not bothering me. Like, so we have Jeremiah starting off the episode as usual, being annoying, but I'm like, okay, whatever. He's sad, but he's just being a classic man child. Well, Adam, his dad, is like, he cuts him off. So Jeremiah is forced to go get a job. He's working in a restaurant because he's always expressed interest in cooking, like his crash out about the cake. Belly, the cacao is part of the bean or whatever he says, where he's like, this is the one thing I wanted. We all made fun of like how much he wanted this like certain cake scene. If you know, you know. So he has expressed interest in cooking. So right now he might be working in the kitchen, cutting onions and doing stuff, but he's not relying on daddy's money. He was couch surfing and was staying at Steven's apartment, but now he's staying with Denise's apartment, who works with Steven. They're going to go do their own little startup. They finally quit Adam's company because they were all working there together. And there was some things that said Denise and Jeremiah could possibly have a thing, and I was like, yeah, right, I don't see it at all, because I thought Denise was really going to be the foil to Steven and Taylor, and we thought she was, but then it turned out to be a big fat nothing burger. And can I just say, like, the 5-minute scene of Jeremiah and Denise was more meaningful than any conversation I've ever seen Jeremiah and Belly have. So the jellyfish people, if you want Jeremiah to be happy, I think this is the way to go. Like, I can't believe that Jenny, because the whole time I'm like, well, if Jeremiah is going to end up with somebody, how's it even going to, like, be believable, right? Like, with so little time. I'm telling you, that, like, 5-minute conversation with them sold. Put me on the ship. And I don't know what it is with men and slutty glasses, because suddenly I'm like, Jeremiah's hot? Where did this come from in his depressive sweatpants and slutty glasses?
Pause.
I don't know.
I gotta ask, what makes...
Are you pausing the show or pausing...
Pausing you.
Okay.
Pausing your mouth for a second.
Okay.
Define slutty little glasses on a guy for me. Like, what is that? I need to know. I need to understand, because you also said that about Jonathan Bailey and his glasses that he had for the Jurassic Park movie.
It's a thing. It's just, you either got it or you don't.
Okay.
You have sassy glasses.
Oh, okay. Not slutty, sassy.
Glasses.
Okay,
There's a difference. I do like you with glasses, though.
Oh, you're blurry. I'm not wearing my glasses. No wonder. I was like, where are they? Oh, they're right there. I'm still struggling. I made it to 40 years without
and you
glasses.
Still have like the smallest prescription I've ever seen. Your glasses feel like the test model. Anyway, slutty glasses and Jeremiah, 2 thumbs up. I actually, even if he and Denise aren't in game, that was a really great scene. But I think the chemistry is there, and if that ends up being a thing, I'd buy it. We finally got Jeremiah and Conrad. All I've really wanted to is I wanted the brothers to make some type of peace, and they do. They meet at Susanna's grave, by accident, of course, but it was the anniversary of her death. So, of course, they were both there, and they hashed it out. Like, I feel like one of my and the biggest annoyances of Conrad is he's been letting everybody steamroll him. And he said, you know what, Jeremiah, you started dating her like 2 seconds after we broke up. How do you think that made me feel? And, like, she's not a prize. Because I think a lot of the reasons why the codependency that Jeremiah and Belly had together, I think some of it was Conrad is the preferred brother. He seems to be the one that's good at everything. And I think for Jeremiah, it was a competition. And that was pointed out, and they had a really good conversation. I don't think they're going to be, perfect at any time yet, but it was nice to see the boys hug. It was nice they both were like, wow, like talking about their mom's last wishes, and they were like, well, we both really screwed up that, haven't we? And I think they're going to be okay. And then Jeremiah even said, I'm not going to be happy about it. But if you really are still into Belly, because he's like, I always knew there was a force field between you guys. He's like, you better do something before it's not too late. So Conrad has to go to Brussels for work. He is, living his best doctor life now. We've had this time jump, and he says, I don't care how much it costs, and he books the ticket, and he's going to go to Paris. Also, we have the scene of Belly getting a haircut, which there was a scene earlier in the season where Jeremiah's like, never cut your hair. And I was like, oh, she's going to cut her hair at the end. Now, Belly did finally hook up with a man whose last name isn't Fisher, Benito. That happened in the books as a thing. It was just a fling. I actually like Benito. Clearly, I don't think they're going to be endgame by any chance, but it was nice to see Belly having fun. It was nice to see Taylor visiting Belly. And I don't know what's going to go down with this Paris meeting, but I'm excited for it. I can't wait. My predictions for the finale, they say it's going to end a little different than the books. If I had to guess, this is what I think is going to go down. I think that Conrad's going to meet her there. She's going to be happy to see them. And I think they might even kiss. But I think Belly might be like, I want to stay in Paris. I don't feel like I'm ready to come home yet. I feel like there's more to explore. And then I think we're going to have another time jump, and they're going to be back in Cousins Beach. And I think that enough time will have passed. Maybe they'll be there for some event. I don't know. And I think that they will officially be together then. I do not think we're going to get the wedding like we got in the book, but I think we're going to get some more. Now, there's some theories that we're going to get some bonus episodes because Jenny Han likes to be like Taylor Swift, like the Easter eggs. I don't think we're going to be that lucky. But I do hope that most of this episode we are going to get some Belly Conrad scenes, because one of my biggest frustrations with the show is I feel like we barely ever got to see them together. That was one of my biggest frustrations with the book, and I need it to be more than just like, 2 seconds at the end, here we are together. So that's what I think is going to happen. I think they are going to have some romantic fun in Paris. I think they're going to part ways, and then I think they're going to come together at the end, and then I think you might see Jeremiah off with Denise. And it might be a hint that they're together. I don't know. Maybe I'll get really lucky and they'll be coming together for Steven and Taylor's wedding. I don't know. I think we're going to have a couple time jumps. But I'm excited for the summer I turned pretty.
Well, mark it down, everybody. It's on the record. If she is wrong next week, everybody let her know about it.
Now, if I don't get a Bond rat endgame, though, we riot at dawn, baby.
And our series concluded in episode 118, Mothman and the Paper.
All right, well, that is the paper, and next up, we've got a season and series finale for you. The Summer I Turned Pretty, Season 3.
And other breaking news. So, The Summer I Turned Pretty officially ends The Summer I Turned Vulcan series, but maybe not. I don't know. And Season 3 finale, Episode 11. So good. So good. It opens up immediately with Conrad going to Belly's apartment. So finally, Bonrad reunites. Belly got the haircut. I will say that haircut, it looked to me like they didn't use a wig necessarily, that they tucked it under, because Lola, I think, had cut her hair shoulder length, but they gave her this bob. But it wasn't like awful looking, but it was distracting to me. I wish they had either just actually had her cut it or styled it a little different, but regardless of that, all of the Bonrad scenes, no notes. 10 of 10. I got to see them. First, it was kind of awkward at first, as it would be, because, that is the guy that said he was in love with you right before your wedding, and then you ran off to Paris, and you guys haven't seen each other in over a year. And I liked that it was sort of awkward, but then as they both loosened up, it was so good. And you can just tell that they are just a Bonrad connection. That is why it is the ship. That is why it is their story. And it was awesome. I loved watching them go around Paris together. Then they had me literally like clutching the chair of the seat that I was in during the love scene. We finally got a really good Bonrad love scene. As soon as Taylor Swift's dress started playing, I knew we were in for us a time. And it was hot. It was steamy. It was beautiful. Loved it. Basically, almost what I predicted. I believe on the last episode, I said that I thought that he was going to go see her in Paris. They were going to have a great time, but then they might split. and because Belly was gonna pull some crap and be like, I can't be with you right now. I'm still finding myself. And then I thought that they were gonna part ways, and that she would see him and Cousins down the road. So I was wrong about the last part. But they did fake me out for a second because I'm looking at like the runtime of this episode. I'm like, oh gosh. I was like, we don't have much time left. And suddenly, after they sleep together, Belly like has a little bit of a freak out. But in a way, it was a good freak out because they addressed something very important. It's always been Susanna, the boy's mother, was always like, you and Conrad are like destined to be together, which I always thought was a little odd to put that on like kids. And it was always weird to me, and I didn't love that was part of it. And Belly's like, do you really love me, or are you just doing it because that's what your mom wanted? And I feel like it needed to be addressed. And he's like, you think that I'm doing all of this for my mom? He's like, I've changed everything about myself, but the one thing I can't change or whatever, he said, I'm paraphrasing here, is like how I feel about you. And it was so good. It was infinity. They are infinity. It's a Bonrad thing. You guys, the people that watch this show would know. But they faked me out for a minute. I was like, oh no. I was like, this might actually end with her choosing herself. I'm like, I'm going to get out my notepad now and start, alerting the media, like what is going on. But it was a brief fake out. Conrad leaves to go take the 5 a.m. train back to Brussels. That's where his doctoring.
That's where he does his doctoring?
Yeah, he is his conference there. And Belly, you see her see Junior Mint. That's the bear that he won for her. And I really liked that, by the way. And when Belly, this shows again that Belly has always been an unreliable narrator. When she told the story about Junior Mint, when she got it, she said that the only reason Conrad won it was because he felt bad for flirting with somebody. But you see it from they did a flashback to that scene. You see it from his perspective that he was just trying to win it for her. And we always knew that. But you see, she looks at the bear. She lifts up, and there's the infinity necklace that Conrad gave her for her birthday years ago. And Conrad didn't see the necklace because it was under the scarf. It's like Junior Mint just like reunited his parents. She sees it. Then her mom texts her a picture of her birthday when she was younger, and she just has an epiphany. And she realizes, like, it's okay. I want him in like every lifetime, and she goes after him. And at first I was like, this better not be a dream sequence, because they start playing Taylor Swift, Are We Out of the Woods? Are We Out of the Woods? And she literally runs. I don't know how she had time to change into jeans and a tank top and get in the car and catch that train, but whatever. And you see her running through the train. You know I love me a good chase scene.
Sure.
And she sees Conrad, and she's like, she gives him the speech like, it's you. I want you in every lifetime. I choose you of my own free will. I choose you. And then they kiss, and it was awesome. And I've seen a lot of people, and I screenshotted this, being like, some of the haters are like, I just wanted Belly to choose herself, or, she didn't have her agency. And it says the show was literally Belly choosing herself. Yes, she does realize she loves Conrad without denying it. But she also realizes that she loves herself. When she says she loves the girl with brown eyes and brown hair, she chooses herself. She chooses to love herself, which means loving Conrad and not hating the person she grew up to be. Because she had a self-loathing, like a lot of self-loathing. She was like, I was the villain in this story. And a lot of people have said she was the villain in the story. And when she and Conrad are actually talking about that, as they're going around Paris, he's like, we were just kids. And I felt that was really, it needed to be said. So she realizes that, it says she chooses to love herself, which means loving Conrad and not hating the person she grew up to be. Her self-sabotage, which was a huge reason why she couldn't get herself to be with Conrad, turned to self-love. Her running to Conrad was not just for Conrad, but for herself, and I love that. And then there's another little sentence in there, which I'll get to in a minute. But it was great. I loved it. I was very excited about it. She says later in the voiceover, I didn't make it back to Cousins that summer, but then I did eventually come back, and it's her and Conrad in the car on the way to the beach house, and then it shows them standing in front of the beach house, and the camera pulls away. The other group, I basically won with all my ships, never lost. Except for one time for a terrible show that was awful. Steven and Taylor, they had already gotten back together, but I was worried they got them back together too early. And I'm like, Jenny, better not pull some crap. They had like the best scene ever. We find out that Steven and Denise, their little startup company, that they have gotten money, but it's going to have them moving to California. And Taylor's like, freaks out about it because she finds out before Steven tells her. and they kind of have a little bit of an argument, but then he's like, I don't want to ask you to move for me. And she's like, I wouldn't be moving for you. She's like, I know this is your dream. She's like, I'd be moving for us because I finally believe in us now. And now I'm obsessed with this song. God, what is it called? I've been making you listen to it like nonstop now.
Well, it's a good question. I have song blindness, so
but you know movies.
Sure.
The song is called Everywhere, Everything. It's by Noah Kahan. I don't know his name, but Gracie Abrams, who I love, is on there. And they played that. We have our beautiful sailor scene. And guess what, guys? I figured out I don't hate Jeremiah when he's not being annoying and ruining Bonred and being a baby and a man-child around Belly. Because of the time and distance, Jeremiah in the last episode, I liked him better. He's been able to grow and really become his own person finally at last. And now we know why he was so obsessed with the wedding cake and like the chocolate thing, because he has aspirations to be a chef. So he has like this whole like chef dinner thing that they have at the cousin's beach house. Like this is like a whole other separate story while Belly and Conrad are in Paris. And I actually love Jeremiah now. I don't love him, but I like him and I'm rooting for him. And Jeremiah and Denise, baby, last week they had, or the last episode before the finale, they had some scenes and I'm like, I could see it. I didn't know if I had read some leaks that they were going to be in game, and I'm like, how is this going to work? The chemistry off the charts. They've had more chemistry in their few scenes than he had in 3 seasons with Belly. So they finally kiss. But, I don't know if it's going to be anything serious, but because he's like, I'm really glad that we met. And he's like, and now suddenly I'm regretting myself for not doing this. And she's like, doing what? And he kisses her and he's like, oh, shouldn't I have not done that? And then she kisses him and they start laughing. He's like, what? Are you laughing because you're kissing Nepo baby? That's what she called him when they were both working at his dad's office. And she's like, no, I'm laughing because Nepo baby's kissing me. And also Denise calls him out on his crap, which is great. He was talking kind of about Conrad and he's like, oh, whatever, you were impressed with Conrad and everything. And she's like, dude, you're the one that seems obsessed with Conrad. Cut it out. So it seemed like we have somebody that's going to choose Jeremiah first, which if you're a Jeremiah fan, you should be happy with Jeremiah's arc, whether it's with Denise or him growing up. This is something that's always got on my nerves with shows. And I'm going to call out the Vampire Diaries fandom, another famous brother love triangle. Everybody that claims that they're a Stefan fan, but then is so angry about Stelena, you don't like Stefan. I said what I said. Elena was always pretty much constantly, at least by the end of season 1, going forward, I looking at Damon. She was always had that connection with Damon. You just couldn't deny it. If you're such a Stefan fan, why would you want Elena with Stefan when she clearly had feelings for Damon? Why would you want that? So this is the same situation. So the weirdos that ship jellyfish, why would you want Jeremiah with somebody that stunts his growth and that doesn't love him the way he deserves to be loved? So for my shipping, I totally won all the ships. So that made me very happy. I would consider that a pretty good finale. The only thing that I wanted more of, I would have liked to have seen another jump forward in the future with everybody together, because Belly and Conrad basically had their own entire storyline going on, and we didn't get to see the whole group back. I would have liked to have ended it with a flash forward of the Jeremiah, Conrad, Steven throwing Belly in the pool for the belly flop, which they did in season 1 and 2. But I was like, you know what? They didn't do that, whatever. So the credits roll, we have this letter from Jenny Han of the thanking fans, but then saying maybe we'll meet in Cousins again. I'm like, And then we have this montage of all these pictures of Bonrad at Christmas time, because, Belly, Conrad, their thing was always Christmas. And we're like, So I finished this episode, and I'm like, could we get more? Because there's been theories, about basically what we do with the Taylor Swift stuff, with the Easter eggs. Like, will we get some extra episodes? Well, I think I was done for the episode, and later that day, the announcement's made, and we're like, it's happening! So here's some breaking news! Y'all thought I was done with this show? No, we're getting The Summer I Turned Pretty, the movie! Woo!
Have they announced who's going to be playing the different cast members yet?
No, it's going to be the same. Lola and Chris are already signed on.
I know that. Sure I understand. I know.
Daniel, this is why you're not allowed to talk when I watch this show. It's very important to me. So we're getting the movie. Now, a lot of us are trying to theorize when that's coming out. We're like, have they already filmed scenes? Because Jenny Han specifically said that it's not coming next year. So we're like, well, what if it's this year on December 14th? I think that it's probably wishful thinking. And she was like, oh, well, it's not made yet. I was like, well, made means it might not be edited yet. Maybe we'll get it. But she has since doubled down and says that she wants to wait a couple years to let the actors even age a little bit, because we're going to be showing it's going to be Belly and Conrad, the next chapter of their lives. So we're hoping it's like the wedding, which they have in the book. But yeah,
what did
so
I
we
say?
could be 2027. Maybe.
What did I say when you told me all of this? I think I said, well, they're going to mess with your ships a little bit.
No, she says she's not going to.
Well, they're going to have some drama involved.
I'm sure, but it's not going to. But Bonrad will be together. They're not going to Belly's not going to go date Jeremiah again.
No,
I think they might address how that, even though Belly, Conrad, Jeremiah are all in a better place. I think that they will address the awkwardness, because Jenny Han said that in an interview, what's it like when you are marrying or dating your brother's ex? Like, how do you navigate family dynamics? Which, I mean, I guess we technically already did with.
So they're just making the family stone.
No, but that's a great movie. That's a great movie. I do love The Family Stone. But I'm really excited for the movie. I was hoping that we get some extra episodes tacked onto this season. But I think that's going to, for those of us there were some people that were kind of upset about the finale because they'd feel rushed. And now, like I said, I could have been satisfied with that finale and been like, all right, all my ships worked out. There's hope for the future. But now I'm really excited. So I'm not going to stop talking about this movie. It's just going to continue to be my personality.
You are going to stop talking about it right now.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for listening, not just to this supercut, to the podcast in general. We really appreciate all the support you guys give us, and we will see you next year.